Compliance doesn't mean, and I mean that to my core. When you get compliance done, that's the start of the journey.
Yeah.
But it's the baseline.
Guys. Hello, everybody. I know it's like the end of the day, so is everybody like feeling like pretty hyped, pretty bumping? Yeah? Sounds like it. Man, yeah, everybody got to calm down a little bit. Okay, so first off, I do want to start by saying we are not professional speakers, and who here actually saw the talk that we gave yesterday, so I can get a show of hands for who already has heard a little bit about what we do? Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
So about half
This
the room.
is totally different.
Totally different talk, so trust me, you're not hearing a repeat.
That one was boring compared to this.
But obviously, I'm going to start by saying we may, be professionals, but we are not professional speakers. We pace a lot, we stutter, we talk just like everybody else talks. We're just here to share, have a conversation, and tell you a little bit about who we are. So yeah, and I'm hoping he keeps his potty mouth under control. So.
Yeah, that. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Thank you. So a little bit about me, if you haven't heard already. My name's Tuttle. I was raised by my father, who was a stay-at-home dad. Little did I realize that's actually because he was on house arrest. And so I started college at the age of 13, or university, as some of you guys may call it. I got my first bachelor, degree in computer science at the age of 17, got 4 more tech degrees, started my master's, and then I graduated American high school at the age of 18.
So extra.
Yeah, COVID was a lot, so I had plenty of free time to do whatever I needed to do. So that led into me doing threat research and being able to work alongside my father, who I'm going to allow to give you guys kind of a very, very brief overview about his history and his background. So I'm going to let him take over for a little bit, and then we'll come back up, and we're going to do an open AMA question. So anything you guys can possibly think of, unless it doesn't get us in trouble, we will answer
She's a good person. It'll be me getting in trouble, I promise.
As long as he doesn't get in trouble, we will answer it to the best of our ability. So without further ado, go ahead.
Yeah.
Take it
and
away.
anyone coming in, just come on in, and I'm good.
Don't be afraid to walk right here.
Well, I get
We're not
really
that
distracted.
important. Yeah.
But
go ahead.
I don't care. So, so my name's Jesse, Hackah Jack from the group Hackwiser, which would be considered an early APT group. For anyone that was in the previous talk, you learned a lot about APT groups. But with that, this is something that actually makes me feel a little awkward. So I like to always just break the ice with something that makes me feel awkward, other than the fact that a university made me a Wikipedia page. I'm in a comic alongside Kevin Mitnick, Captain Crunch, and Steve Wozniak. I don't know, never expected that. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you all my background. How did I end up coming up as the average American teenage kid to a world's most wanted cybercriminal? It's not like my parents necessarily planned that. It's not like they're like, hey, you're going to become the next mafia leader. It's not like I ever thought for any moment that that's what my future would be. And I would be 4 years, 4 months, 28 days on pretrial house arrest. And anyone here, any Americans in here? All right, a couple. Any other convicted criminals in here? Any of you have 16 US felonies? Even when I'm in a room with other felons, I normally outnumber all of them combined. Unless they're other hackers. We just rack them up.
You really do, yeah.
It's horrible. But with that said, I'm going to share my background so you understand my journey. You understand what led me to where I became a world's most wanted cybercriminal, and then the process that transformed me. And then we're going to open it up as an AMA so that you can ask either of us anything you want. It's a very weird thing for a hacker to do, and honestly, it's kind of scary. I do AMAs frequently. I do open up for questions. I enjoy it because it scares me and it's kind of an adrenaline rush. So, I don't know, we'll go. And I keep clicking the wrong button here, I know that. Awesome. So, as a child, I grew up with a sense of curiosity. My parents put that in me. And then going into my more formative years, I started learning about like dial-up computer systems, BBSs, AOL, news groups, IRC. And I ended up just coming across some really cool called pirated software. Flying toasters. How many of you have been in tech since the 90s? 95, 98. How about 2000? 2003? Okay. Gives me some feedback. Lets me know where you're at. So, back in the mid 90s, I'm learning about pirated software. I'm getting into things like Duke Nukem and Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, After Dark screensavers. Any guys in the room? Honestly, let's just put a hand up for a minute. I want to see an interaction. Guys, put your hands up. Yeah, a lot of you. Now, how many of you, and I know at least for Americans, it was like JCPenney catalogs and National Geographic, and you're kind of looking for that fix of like wicked tricks. I mean, in 1994, we had GIF images. You look and you're like, I think that's a girl. And all honesty, yeah. Like, I see several of you, you're like, yep, a couple fists up, I get it. Well, you know what? You want to get a 14-year-old boy excited? In 1994, give him a computer screen and some GIF images. So I got really interested into tech. Well, with this, I had a friend that introduced me, a couple friends, and then this was over the course of the summer. In the US, we go back to school in the fall, and my friends were like, man, I'm gonna get you dialing up, I'm gonna get you access to this stuff because I'm tired of doing it for you, because I was going over their house. Well, now we're back to school, not necessarily the easiest way to get access to stuff anymore. So, going through this process, I'm getting into the pirated software, the war scene, and I'm downloading, I'm distributing, and this is like super cool because I'm getting the latest games. Now it takes like days to download, but I'm getting them, I'm sharing them, and then it occurred to me one day, if I purchase a game and I install it on my computer, I have to type in a code to activate it, a registration code. But if I download it, I don't need to do that. Why? And so this led me into reverse engineering software and wondering about how software actually works. And in doing so, I started asking the pirating groups that I hung with, UPS most namely. I hung with Razor 911, Mystic, and other ones, but I started wanting to learn how to reverse engineer, and they started teaching me. And with this, I ended up discovering security holes in products. I remember it was circa 1995, IIS, Microsoft Web Server, just came out, and I'm playing with it, and I figure out how to get a directory listing remotely. Well, that's cool. Well, can I write files? I could. Could I read files? Yeah, I could do all sorts of stuff. And it was the first version of the product, but this is a commercial web server. I think this is neat, and I'm looking for a way to distribute pirated software quicker. And at that time, US military computer systems had the best internet connections. So if I hack military systems, I can put pirated software there and distribute it even quicker. Thank you, the US government. Most effective thing they've ever done. So with that, I then had that curiosity build because another weird fact about me is my last year of formidable school, 12th grade, I failed computer applications. To graduate high school in America, it's on a 4-point scale, and you need a 1.65 to graduate. That's like a D minus. I was at a 1.67. My school schools in America gets funding based on the number of kids that graduate, And so for every kid that doesn't graduate or has problems, they chance losing federal funding. So the counselor pulls me aside and goes, hey, would like to talk to you and see kind of like, what the is wrong with you, bro? And I was like, I'm bored. I had nothing there that interests me. So they realized like one of the things that interests me is mysteries. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's play this game. When I'm going through it, and Sherlock Holmes and Hardy Boys, I'm like, it's fake. Not my cup of tea. I mean, anyone that was in my talk knows I love dead animals. We talked about it yesterday, my love for dead animals. I love meat. So I love real movies, not action. Because if the stunt person can't die, it's kind of boring. I like real. So God, I'm way too honest. Half of you may hate me after this. I'm not politically correct, but it's okay. I'm an American. You can hate me. What we're designed for. We're the people to be hated. So I then started to learn about something called the Bermuda Triangle. And dinosaurs. Well, these are kind of neat creatures. How long ago did they stop roaming the earth? Was it millions of years ago? But there's Native American drawings of what looks like dinosaurs on walls that date back about 400 years. Huh? I wasn't a Christian, but the whole thing of, is angels and demons real? How about aliens? Anyone ever hear of Roswell or, crop circles? And Noah's Ark, was this thing ever even real? Like, and if it was it ever found? And I'm like, holy shit, this is cool. Now, conspiracy theories was my dig. I loved that. So that was brewing on one side, but at the other time, I was really, keep turning off my clicker. I was really getting into computers. And so as I'm on dial-up BBSs, I'm learning about how to hack my school network. Well, I had really bad grades. Everyone knew it. It wasn't a secret. But there's other students that had questionable grades and needed to show better. So I was learning how to improve my skills with school network. It was very convenient, Novell NetWare on Windows 3.11 for work groups. Yeah, it was awesome. Then moved to Windows 95, still Novell. And so I'm sitting there playing with that. I'm struggling in school over here. And I'm sitting there and I'm hacking my school's computer system. Well, then the librarian was like, hey, we have this new service where you can connect with other companies. And you can connect with libraries and you can connect with different cities and get information. And then started doing more dial-up BBSs and war dialing. And then the next thing I know, out of nowhere, I'm getting really excited about learning more about mysteries, and I'm learning more about, oh, y'all come in. Don't even worry about it. Come in. Yeah. These two sides of me just hit. And now, the next thing I know, I'm literally hacking NASA, military, universities. I had some questions in life that I wanted the answers to.
Super casual about that.
Super casual.
I hacked NASA.
Yeah, hacked NASA. That was cake. But this is where the two worlds collided. And I lived there for years, and it was my dig. I didn't tell anyone about it because I knew I could get in trouble. So, I don't want to be that statistic. And as a teenage boy, I just didn't want to get in trouble. I was always in trouble. But then with doing this and then talking to people about the security vulnerabilities I'm finding in software, this is late 90s, 96, 97, 98, 99. I'm looking, I'm like, the easiest way into these institutions is through FTP, web apps, things, they're hosting them on-prem, things like this. Well, there's this other group of hackers known as defacers. They hack websites and graffiti them. They think it's cool. It wasn't really my thing. I say that now, wait for a couple more slides. But But it wasn't my thing. I didn't think it was cool. I wasn't looking for media fame. I was looking to learn. I was looking to satisfy my curiosity. And so I started talking to these people. I started hanging out with them. But have you ever heard the saying, to hang with the thieves, you got to be a thief. To hang with defacers, you got to deface. It's still true to this day that I piss off a lot of security researchers and security companies because they're like, oh yeah, like we source dark web data. We're right in the groove with them. And I always go, I'm like, so do you have a convicted hacker on your team? Oh no, we would never have those people. I'm like, okay, so what's your street cred? How are you getting in? Or are you just buying this in your terrorism? And they're like, you. So, I mean, that's the nature of it. You got to be there. You have to have an entrance. You got to buy your way in or you got to do something. It was the case today. It was the case then. I wanted to hang with the defacers and trade tools with them, so I did my first website defacement. In 1999, I defaced a website, and I thought it was like a one and done. No, it's like, hey, this is what you do now. You're a website defacer. And because I discovered 0 days, I wrote the tools, I did the exploits, I traded them around the community, I was a relatively hot commodity. And in 2000, I got approached to join Hackwiser. Hackwiser today would be an APT group, is what an American APT group. We did defacements, but my job at Hackwiser was much more than just defacements. And you'll see that in a moment. But my job was to bring my tool set, my coding skills, my reverse engineering for Microsoft-based systems, that's what I specialized in, and defacements. I wrote a lot of exploits, a lot of security tools that were used by US military, government, other security firms to test with. I did defacements, little things like, I don't know, Navy, Army, that's the defacements right there. Girl Scouts of America, Jenny Craig, weight loss system. And if you're an American, you know, Girl Scouts of America sells cookies every year. Jenny Craig weight loss.
If you're an American, you know how funny this is.
Yes, it's bad.
It was back to back, too.
Jose Cuervo, and then a little side project I had called Global Domination of taking and defacing systems in 200 different top-level domains. 200 countries. It was a goal. I did most of them. I managed a cyber weapon I built, fully automated. People talk about AI and automation now. BrewServe was a tool. It was a chat bot I built that set an IRC that I could give access to. When people traded me exploits, I'd build them in fully automated hacking. I'd give it an IP, give it a domain name. It would start the scanning. It'd start the recon. Once it found a hole, it would validate it. It'd exploit it. It would go in. It would automatically start literally destroying logs, getting everything set and prepped. And it was wonderful. It was early AI. It was fully automated. It had some really cool things. It got a search warrant served to it and a warrant for its arrest. Law enforcement didn't realize it was a bot. But at this time, in 2001, the US was flying an intelligence reconnaissance plane off the coast of China. And the Chinese flew 2 fighter jets, a little too close. One of them slammed into it. The US Navy reconnaissance plane and one of the Chinese fighter jets fell out of the sky, crashed. Unfortunately, the Chinese pilot did not live. The American crew was captured and held, as we were told in America, hostage. They're probably being tortured. That's where I learned what Chinese water torture was. They talked about it on the news. We had this horrible picture painted for us of the Chinese. And I was a 20-year-old boy going, what the f-? This is crazy. Like, this is bad. And the founder of Hackwiser messaged me and said, bro, let's do something, because it's not like we weren't capable. Every country on earth is using computers, banking systems, government, military. It's all tech-powered. That was our cup of tea. We didn't have to be military. We could be vigilantes. We could bring justice and make some answers for the world. 20-year-old boy, I signed up. And what unfolded is what the New York Times called the first hacker world war, however they posted it. The first world hacker war. It's very odd. New York Times is odd sometimes. But we launched an attack that gave rise to some things that you might still know of as today. It was the first movement of its kind, and some of the people there that participated alongside me gave rise to other things in the future. Well, we went on a whole rampage of working to destroy Chinese systems. Chinese hackers fought back in patriotism and hacktivists, and the Western culture was born. This is where hacktivism was born out of and became popular. It was there beforehand, yes, but this is the first time it was seen on a global scale. So that incident led to more than $2 billion in damages. And that's just by simply the code red virus that was released at the end of it. That's not counting the tens of thousands of systems in China that we destroyed, and the thousands of systems in the US, including part of the White House systems that were destroyed by the Chinese during the cyber war. If anyone was affected by code red virus, I apologize now. Lots of times when I talk to an audience, especially of MSPs, I do have someone that was affected by it. So I always apologize. Anyway, so at that time, I'm breaking, let me ask this question. I asked it, but only part of you were in that conversation yesterday. Who here, so a lot of you work in tech. Any of you ever work with databases? Hands? Yeah. Anyone of you ever build and make databases or write SQL? Ever wonder how to optimize databases? Ever hack banks to learn how to build databases? All right, yep. Maybe, you're gonna see a partial. Yeah, love you, brother. Yes, finally, I'm not a sole person. So, and that's what it is. So it was my curiosity, how do you learn? Go to the best. I wanna learn to make databases. This data is being stored there. I'm gonna hack banks to learn. It made sense in my book. So hacking banks led to a really awkward day. Really awkward day on May 9th, 2001. FBI, it was my first knock on the door. They were super cool about it. It was FBI New York and Cincinnati did a joint raid. And it was, I don't know if they were playing good cop, bad cop. I did find out that they weren't playing. New York literally, and I got a memo on it, that they wanted to put me in a black site like Kevin Mitnick. That was their entire goal, is to make me the second Kevin Mitnick. Well, thankfully, I did not live in New York. I lived in Cincinnati. And the Cincinnati FBI office kind of gave me a totally different route. They seized all my equipment, and my mom, I'm still scared of her to this day. If you know what like an old man punch is, like, it's not old man, just they have a rock hard fist and just, that's my mom still to this day. And I'm scared of her. She's in her 60s, and I'm terrified of that lady. And the Asians got this. And I'm like, I'm waiting to be arrested, cuffed, taken out. And I was like, and they're like getting ready to leave, and they're like, we'll see you tomorrow. I said, are you taking me with you? And they're like, they looked at my mom, looked at me, looked at my mom. They're like, nah, you're staying here. I was terrified. I stayed there. They came the next day, picked me up. They took me for an interview. I told them, I said, look, I'll answer questions. I will talk with you. I don't need to do a polygraph. I'm not going to lie about what I did. You obviously know. And so they offered me something that I didn't know about called a proffer agreement. A proffer agreement, for any Americans in here or anyone that ever travels to America and commits a crime and then you get arrested, especially if it's like a series of crimes, ask about a proffer agreement. Write that down, because whatever you disclose that they don't know exactly that you've done, and you disclose it under a proffer agreement, they can never legally hold against you. Yes, please. So, because at this time, I had a botnet of more than 100,000 systems. We have MSPs in the room. Any of you managed more than 100,000 endpoints? I did. So, I had a lot to share, and I was willing to because I was terrified. Now, how things unfolded is not quite what I expected, because I'm like, look, I'll tell you what I've done. Please don't kill me and put me in a black site. That was my fear. Is going to like some unknown site, being a Kevin Mitnick, not even like, no one even knows what happened to Kevin Mitnick. He just like vanished into a pit. And that's what I was scared of was gonna happen to me. So they're like, look, after we talked, they're like, are you open to making some money? I'm like, yeah. I'm a guy that lives in his parents' basement hacking computers. Totally stereotypical. Yes, I'm open. What do you want? But you probably don't want me. And they're like, because I'm like, I don't know who anyone is. I can't snitch. I'm not, no one knows who I am. That was what protected me for years. No one ever knew who I was. And so they said, no, look, we're going to return all your equipment to you. You keep hacking us, and everything you hack, secure it, write a report, and then tell us the next day. Really? Wait, I get to hack you all? And you're gonna, I don't have to ask permission. I just do what the I do. And then afterwards, I clean up my own mess. I pick up my own room. And I just tell you I had fun, and you pay me for that. Yep, up to $1,000 a piece. Oh, bro, game on. Can I give you the list I currently have? Nope. So I'm gonna start over. So wait, that was my summer 2001. And if you look back at like hacking history, and there's some podcasts that even talk about this, it's the summer of 2001, things died down. Well, there was a main catalyst group that was behind a lot of what was happening in the Western world and in the US. And well, I had other focuses, and I was a big part of that catalyst group. And then somewhere along that line, I remember the FBI office of New York, and I'm not gonna dive into this because it will derail me and I will cry like a little bitch and I'll be embarrassed. So I got a call to meet with FBI in New York, in Cincinnati, and they said, hey, we wanna talk to you about some systems in the World Trade Center that you hacked. And I go, okay. And so we started talking about it. I didn't realize that this was 13 days before 9/11. I have the FBI of New York sitting in Cincinnati asking me about it. There's my copy of the original proffer agreement, the second one that I signed, 2 of 3. 13 days later, I get involved into the second cyber war that I ever started. I was called into action. There was a lot of things that unfolded. Totally different conversation for another day. I helped secure down a lot of things, helped track back a lot of information. I started reporting to federal authorities and intelligence by the afternoon of 9/11, what was going on, what we're finding. Sorry, my voice already started to give. And so we started tracking down, and I identified very quickly it was Al-Qaeda. That whole thing wrapped up. I went back to hacking my military stuff because I got paid to, had a lot of fun. This is the time I'm back to hacking military. I'm back to doing my jig, the things I enjoy. And then in 2002, I got the second knock on the door, Department of Defense raids. They come, They didn't do a full raid. They found out who I was, what I did, and they thanked me. Actually thanked my parents and left. But it was this time so I'm going through this transformation because I'm a threat actor, but now I'm starting to do good. And I see ways that I can use my skills and my technology for good. MSPs see like, hey, I know how to tinker with computers. I know how to put this together. Maybe I'll become a tech. Maybe I'll open a shop. It's kind of the same thing. It's not like most MSP owners don't go, hey, I'm going to go into a new business venture. I'm just going to open an MSP out of nowhere. No, you build up skills. You started understanding tech. You had someone that asked you, hey, can you fix my computer? Fix this computer, fix that computer. Something leads to another, and now all of a sudden you're making money. You're like, this is what I do. That was kind of how it was for me. And so that was part of my transformation until one day, my handler gets a hold of me and says, hey, Jesse, I want to ask you something. We have a situation that we've been trying to crack, and we think you might be able to help. It is a human trafficking case. And I go, what? He said, human trafficking. I literally said, what is that? I had no clue. And he goes, it's a child sex slave ring. What? I had no clue that like this even existed. I truly lived in a bubble. It was really bad. But I sat there dumbfounded over this. And I told him, I said, hey, I will help, whatever it takes. I will get the job done. Let's fix this. And so they unleashed me. I lured the guy on AOL. We started talking, sent him some pictures, posed as a teenage girl, hacked all of his equipment, found out that he's running FTP servers, IRCF servers, he's distributing on AOL. He runs a whole web hosting company. And I find all this out. Then I realized that it's a global operation that the FBI didn't realize. So I shared that intelligence. I'm feeding this. I'm working on it. And that's in one area of my life. I put everything else aside to do that. And then one day I get an email from a reporter that says, hey, I want to talk to you. And I always had an email for people to be able to contact me because I was actually still passionate about helping people be secure, weird as that is. And so he reaches out and says, hey, I'm hearing there's some vulnerable systems in our state, in our county, in our town. And I'm asking about it. And then what he's sharing to me, I know, because I've hacked some of these, not these exact systems, but similar ones. And he goes, so is the source that I have, is this credible? Is it true? And I go, let me follow up with you. And so I talked to my FBI handler, and he goes, well, this is really odd. I go, yeah, I agree. He goes, just follow it. Do a scan, a non-intrusive scan, vulnerability scan, and let him know. Let's just see. Let's see how this plays out. Like, okay. So I did, and it was on my local police department and my local county, city website, and it was some vulnerabilities that shouldn't have been there. They're like 6 years old, known vulnerabilities, simple to fix. I'm like, this is just weird. Why the hell are these vulnerabilities even there? They had to be enabled. It was just a poor Microsoft documentation-based vulnerability. So I confirmed it. I sent him a screenshot as I was told to do. And then the next thing I know is this. My third knock on the door. It's the local police raiding and arresting me. That guy I was communicating with wrote this article, Arrest Brings Hacker Out of Shadows, changing my trajectory, period. I didn't know at that time, being a 21, 22-year-old kid, that federal law enforcement and local law enforcement does not necessarily get along. They have problems with each other. I was told it would blow over, it'll be taken care of. Then I end up disclosing that I worked for the FBI. The judge even went into the point, after reviewing all the evidence, that he couldn't find it that I've done anything wrong. They had no evidence on it, couldn't understand why they even arrested me. The FBI gets called in. The FBI says, well, we can't publicly admit that he works for us unless we move forward to trial, then we'll admit that he works for us. How does that math? So we go through this. This was in 2003. I agreed to take a anklet, a home arrest unit on my ankle to make sure I don't go to DEF CON, the world's largest hacker conference, for 5 days. I should have known better because in 2005, 2 years later, it was still on. They baited me and I went for the bait. I agreed that I'll go on for the weekend. They continued it, and it kept getting continued for 5 years. Or 2 years, sorry. That's when an investigative reporter found out that, well, now some of the weird things that was coming up that no one could explain was being explained. The guy that executed my arrest and my search warrant wasn't even a police officer. Everything was done totally illegal and wrong. Well, when this came to light, they needed more time. 2 more years. I set a record of 4-year house arrest. I had a little girl at that time that was 2 years old, 2.5. I was on house arrest. Can you imagine what it's like being a dad with a 2.5-year-old little girl, and you can't go outside? You can't, literally, I can't go past my front door. I could for 8 hours a week. That was through like my shopping or whatever I needed. That was it, 8 hours a week. And that I literally had to pre-schedule, know exactly where I'm going. It's not like I could say, hey, I'm taking my little girl to the park. I want to take my little girl to get Santa photos or anything else. I can't. I want to take my little girl to trick or treat. That shit didn't happen. And so I finally gave up the battle, and I went to the judge and I took a plea bargain. I agreed to take 16 felony charges for stuff that I didn't do. It's not like I was innocent. I did enough. But what it enabled me to do was transition my life. I was now out of the shadows where that I could come talk to people. I didn't want to. I was very suicidal. I hated my life. It was a really dark time for about 20 years. And then I got to raise my daughter and hang out with her, grow up with her. And now today, we actually get to hang out. We do cyber threat research and awareness training. We study threat actors. We predict what they're going to do. APT groups, scammers, fraudsters, people that do phishing and everything else. And then we study that and educate people on it. So with that said, my background as a threat actor, I'm going to expose myself in a very non-still-clothed way, but any questions that anyone has whatsoever, we are open to answer, and we're here.
So, yeah.
And these are our QR codes. They are legitimate.
Yeah, you can.
There's a hand, yes.
So AVT could mean anything like airport advanced something.
Advanced persistent threat. So what happens is APT was a term coined maybe about 2010, 2007, 2010. And the first one, it was identified as a Chinese group. Not sure what may have spurred that on. But APT is advanced persistent threat. Yeah. And they're numbered, but then each one may get like a cool name like Cozy Bear.
Yeah.
It's a Russian one, I think, APT 28.
Yeah.
So,
There was a question over here. Pink shirt. I like your shirt, by the way. I love
dude,
pink.
hell yeah. Yeah.
What do you think in the commercial space, not the public space or government stuff, Shadow should implement right away in order to avoid, the majority of the stuff guys like, hackers and stuff can do?
The first thing, compliance. Implement a compliance framework. I'm going to tell any MSP here, any business owner, tell your clients this. Compliance doesn't mean, and I mean that to my core. It's this, when you get compliance done, that's the start of the journey.
Yeah.
But it's the baseline. Because every organization's different. And so what you do is you take something like CIS, NIST, whatever the case may be. CIS is a great one. Get CIS done, get your check boxes done, get your seal for your website and that little paper for your office, and then go, okay, here's where I start my journey. So that's the first thing to making a client safe. Because every client, you need to understand their web exposure, their human exposure. There's the layers of cloud and network. That's one segment. And she gave a great analogy the other day. I don't know if you feel up to it.
I'll give the analogy. And you guys, if you saw the talk yesterday, you probably heard it, but I'm going to give it again. So, show of hands, who played sports ever once in their life? Even held a ball? That'll work. Awesome.
Watched a game.
Yeah. So, a couple years ago, well, actually, I played lacrosse, girls lacrosse, for like 13 years, and I was an All-American girls lacrosse goalie. And my job as a goalie is to protect this goal that is behind me. And I have to protect it if the defense fails, right? And so I kind of think of that as a physical form of layered security. And I think of defense as like your web content filtering and your security awareness training, like the things that are super important and you do need, seriously, because you're covering all your bases. But those bases can still be super vulnerable. Like humans, we're super vulnerable all the time. Stuff can get through web filtering. And so when that happens, you need to have a goalie. And I think of the goalie as like endpoint security, right? So if you don't have endpoint security or you don't have one of those layers, what's going to happen when an attacker gets through your defense and you don't have a goalie in place? Can anybody tell me what normally happens?
Score. Yeah.
Score, you get hacked, something bad happens, right? So in order to also mitigate that is making sure that you have layered security, you're implementing the things that you're being told you need to implement, having like your security awareness training and web content filtering and endpoint security, having the whole shabam. It's crucial, it's important. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So think about this. Your team is out there on the field, and your attackers that's up there to score are part of your defense. Because your attackers, when the ball's down there, they're trying to score, but when the other team gets the ball, they drop it, whatever, aren't they trying to take it back? Yeah, so that's your first line of defense. That's your web filtering and your network security. And that's your physical building perimeter and all that stuff.
All of that.
So then your defense is your awareness training. That's where your humans come in. It's what they're clicking on. It's what they're opening. And it's what they're doing. And you have to have all that network security in place and the cloud filtering. Then you have to have your awareness training. And then the final goalie, when all else fails, and we know it does, else we wouldn't have so many hacks and breaches, is that endpoint security there, because a lot of hacks is that endpoint device. Now they're taking databases and they're getting access to other stuff, but it's going through unsecure, unmanaged systems. Microsoft reports 80 to 90% of breaches are through unmanaged devices.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps you. We took two different approaches to kind of cover that, because I think that's important for most of the people here. Say your question one more time, just so that everyone remembers what it was.
You know, can recommend any kind of software or AI or whatever, just scan dart, but
So,
and all these things.
yes.
Because those are two different things.
Yep.
I gotta have, okay, they're threatening that they will release my data, and I want to know if they really are afraid for sale.
Are you a living, breathing human person? Your data's for sale on the dark web. Most of the time.
Yeah.
Your data's for sale on the dark web, I promise you.
Yeah.
Period. There's no reason. I mean, sign up with Have I Been Pwned and some of the other services, but to know what's out there can be hard, because the data is not always readily available, and some of these services
Sometimes
are
you have to
questionable.
buy it.
And in all honesty, I know some of these services because there is sides of me that still hang with certain groups. And
Which
some
is
of these
okay.
dark web intelligence is ran by the same people that's hacking and stealing it. So you may be, it comes back to what I said earlier that I piss off some security companies when I say it, and they tell me to go f off, is because I go, hey, how are you getting that intelligence? Are you funding terrorism? Or do you have someone on the other side that has earned their way in that then has membership to that kind of area? You buying it, or you have an inside guy? And most of the time, they're buying it, or they're harvesting it themselves to sell, to say, hey, here's what's for sale on the dark web, when really they're the ones harvesting it, collecting it, and then just screwing you. In all honesty, and that's true for everyone, share that. So, yeah.
And then, are we like fully out of time?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, please put your hands together for Reese and Jesse Tuttle.